Hello, good morning and welcome to the newspaper show with me, Varun Hirimanth. Before we go any further, let's just get you the fact that the newspaper presses are following all the necessary safety protocols. They're using PPE sanitizers, so there's actually no threat to receiving your paper. And if you are interested in reading a newspaper or getting your own copy, please go to wantmypaper.com where arrangements can be made for the same. With that being said, let's get forward with the top stories of this morning, beginning with the fact that the airlines were to resume operations yesterday. We understood that it was quite a turbulent day as many passengers were turned away as they didn't have e-passes. Each state government had its own protocols, so it was quite a turbulent start for the industry, but a start nonetheless. The next big story is that Kotak Bank, as announced earlier on in the year, is set to do a mega share sale of around 2 billion. This will raise around 7,700 crores, so that's quite a large figure. Uday Kotak will also be divesting here. The next big fundraiser this morning is the fact that Airtel, the telecom company, will also be looking at a $1 billion book. The promoters will be selling in this particular case, so we'll be keeping an eye out for that. Next thing, Ravi Shankar Prasad says that you need to tap AI to fight COVID. So that's just a key voice talking about the COVID approach. MSME SOPs likely for medium companies, so that's something we're likely to hear of this week. The minimum wage hike may be deferred this year, so that's another key development that the papers brought forward this morning. Migrant workers may return only in mid-July, so we're looking at another month and a half of the absence of migrant workers from the metros. At the same time, the centre aims to double virus tests to around 2 lakh per day, so we're really picking up the testing now. The WHO calls a halt to solidarity deal of hydroxychloroquine, so that's quite a key development. And then Beijing plans to fly back citizens amid COVID, so that's some Chinese national information coming in for you there as well. Let's also get you a feel for what's happening on the markets page and the top market stories for this morning. Beginning with the fact that the HDFC Q4 numbers, which were out yesterday, saw profits decline as much as 22% on the back of higher provisions. Now, we've actually seen that with every large bank, so it's not just HDFC, but it's the front page of the markets. Please take a look. Also, ITC, quite interesting. The Sunrise deal can help ITC regain its mojo. So they're going to be buying a spices company that has 1,000 crore top line, and that's valued at about 2,500 crores. Should give them some more footholding in that market. Consumer discretionary companies face a hit on ratings. So ratings agencies are now looking at the consumer pack more closely. Speaking of consumer companies, brokerages have actually lowered their DMart EPS estimates by up to 20% based on the most recent results. So definitely a retailer's trend, DMart feeling the pinch of COVID. And finally, Eicher board to consider a stock split. So after many years and quite a high expensive stock price, they're looking at a possible split. Let's also now get you a feel for what's happening at the corporate level. We have realtors body asking the PM for urgent relief. So your realtors are really coming forward and, in desperate need of relief. Switching gears to auto a little bit, Toyota is to resume manufacturing operations. So that's quite a key development to track this morning. There's a closure risk for 40% of tourism companies. That's what the paper is saying. So 40% of the tourism companies could really be going offline as people just aren't going to be able to travel for anything else other than essential right now. Cardeco fires 200 people, so we heard of Tata having pay cuts. Here we're hearing of an auto manufacturer cutting its staff significantly, 200 people laid off. And court nixes temporary bail for the HDIL promoters. So that's quite self-explanatory, nothing I have to add there, but a story we'll definitely be tracking. But let's switch gears a little bit. Bharti will be selling up to 2.75% stake to raise around $1 billion. My colleague Pankaj Podar, who actually was one of the first people to break the deal, is joining in now. Good morning, Pankaj. Welcome to the show. What can this do for Bharti? What does it mean? What might the proceeds be used for? And what's it going to do to the price, most importantly?
So, the important thing is that Airtel promoters, which is Bharti Telecom, will raise about $1 billion today via a share sale. What are they going to sell? They're going to sell about 2.75% stake in the telecom giant. It's about 15 odd crore shares is what they're looking to sell. Now, when we look at the price range that they have, 558 is the price range. JP Morgan is the sole banker. As of now, the response seems to be good. However, the book is not yet closed, so maybe in the next 30-40 minutes or closer to towards market open is when the book could actually close from here on. Overall, the deal is expected to go through in the morning session. Parent will be able to raise about $1 billion, but it's not that only they have been selling stake, but in the last 3 years, including the rights issue, they have also increased their stake at various points of time in 2015 and 2016, then in the rights issue once again. So overall, now they are looking to sell about 2.75% stake, reduce a little bit of debt that they already have on their book, and probably, make things slightly going better for Bharti Telecom, which has about debt of about 8,000 odd crores at this point of time.
Go, just stick on with us for a second, because we also need to get a sense of what's happening with the Tatas seeking £1.5 billion aid from the UK government to counter COVID. So is that only for the Tata UK subsidiaries, or how's it really working there?
So, that's an interesting one as to how, essentially you would look at this story. Now, what, of course, we are looking at is Tata Group, especially Tata Steel, is seeking about £1.5 billion aid from the UK government. This is an interesting one as to how do they support business, what happens over there. This is, at this point of time, of course, we're picking up from reports. They are seeking this aid so that, they can go ahead and counter COVID, as well as, they may be offering some stake to the company. So, time and again, different companies with different government are getting this news flow. It will be interesting to see how this development goes ahead. It's that they are looking to take this, but whether this comes in or not would be quite interesting. JLR package could also see conversion of loan into equity. So overall, a lot of news flow going around Tata Group, both domestic as well as international, but the international one right now seems to be interesting for us.
All right, Pankaj, thanks so much for joining us this morning and sharing those two particular very interesting stories with us. And we'll be following those up later on in the day. But if you turn to the front page of the Economic Times this morning, on the bottom right side, you will see details about the Kotak Bank mega share sale. So they're set to launch a 2 billion mega share sale. This week, a 7,500 crore QIP will be launched, and the promoter may be selling as much as 6,600 crores. Now, this is for a bunch of reasons. A, in the turbulent times, there's no real harm in raising some contingency capital, considering you do have the ability to do so. Secondly, in Kotak Bank, we do know that the promoter has been having an ongoing arrangement with the RBI, or rather a discussion with the RBI regarding his stake sale dilution. He's well above the current regulated permitted limits. So this is not really going to bring him down much, but it's going to bring him down a couple percentage points. So at least steering him in the right direction for what ultimately RBI has set out as the compliance norm. But that's what this share sale is mostly about, and should see strong demand, most expensive bank in the country, and probably arguably one of the best corporate governance as well. So, that book should be subscribed to pretty heavily, as should Bharti's, but we'll be updating you with that throughout the week. Let's switch gears a little bit. DMart put out its results recently, and there was definitely a sequential blip as retailers feel the pinch of COVID. Let's take it across to my colleague Vinny, who's joining in with all the details. Over to you, Vinny.
Brokerages have lowered the EPS estimates for DMart after looking at the Q4 numbers. Now, social distancing, restricted store timings, this is likely to hit the bottom line of the company in the near term, and even the delivery of non-essential items, which didn't happen during the quarter, hit the company's bottom line currently. And, brokerages believe that this could continue even in the near future. So that is why they have lowered their EPS estimates. If you go to look at Prabhudas Leeladhar, they did say that, they are cutting their EPS estimates for FY21 and FY22 by 16.8% and 8.1%, looking at the lockdown plus the impact on the sales. And, there have been delays in the store openings as well. So that is why they're cutting their estimates. Now, Motilal Oswal believes that, DMart is well positioned in terms of both business model and balance sheet, and could recover quickly from this economic turmoil. So as of now, they're only cutting the operating profit estimates for FY21 and retaining the estimates for FY22. Now, IDBI Capital also believes that, the company has reported 23% sales during the quarter, and there are a lot of challenges for the company. So that is why they have also cut their estimates. And other brokerage firm that has cut their estimates is ICICI ICICI Securities. So let's see how this actually works out for DMart.
All right, Vinny, thanks for that. DMart, definitely a highly coveted stock, and I'm sure many people will be interested with what the brokerages are saying regarding DMart. So thanks for that. But coming back to what is perhaps the largest story on the markets page this morning, that's top of the ET markets page. You're looking at the HDFC Limited, not banks, Q4 numbers. Now, profits fell 22% on the back of higher provisions. That is true of all financials this quarter. I don't think we saw a single financial which hasn't seen a huge surge in provisions. Particularly the provisions here were 1,274 crores. According to the head of this organization, Keki Mistry, delinquency levels have gone up. That's a direct quote. And about a quarter of borrowers sought to avail moratorium. So 25% of the total customers are actually availing the moratorium right now. So that's quite a large figure again, but we have seen a larger amount of customers with other banks, so it's not that alarming, and it's still one of the best institutions in the country. So just something to keep an eye out for this morning. Let's see how the market behaves and how they digested that result. But switching gears a little bit, back to the airlines, which opened yesterday. Utkarsh, who tracks the sector and space really closely, is now with us. Good morning, Utkarsh. We understand from the paper and our sources that it was quite a turbulent start for the industry yesterday. Could you walk us through what happened in the various states?
It was in last minute that most of the state governments decided to not run with even the one-third amount of flights which was cleared by DGCA. And that is precisely the reason why only 70 to 75% traffic was able to fly. There were almost 150 flights that were supposed to fly from Mumbai yesterday. And it ended up being only 25. That's the case with Chennai, Hyderabad. Kolkata has not yet even started. The problem was that the center went ahead and announced the opening of skies. The state, on the other hand, did not give their consent till the last second. That is why many cancellations. And if you look at what was happening at the airport yesterday, and I went and spoke to the people, there have been many major cancellations, but the bigger problem also is that they had booked their fares in the lower bucket approved by DGC in the ministry. But once the flights were cancelled and they tried rebooking, they had to book in the higher bucket. And there was extreme chaos and confusion. Even today, only 25 flights are allowed in Mumbai. We'll have to be waiting for if the confusion and the kind of chaos continues at the Mumbai airport.
All right, Utkarsh, thanks for that. And one can completely understand why this is happening, as authorities themselves are a bit confused as to what the approach should be, and obviously there's a conflict between the center and the states. Thanks for that, though. Switching gears a little bit, let's go to minimum wage. Now, what's happening is that the government had proposed a hike in the minimum wage. This currently impacts around 150 million workers, or 30% of the total workforce of India. So it's going to be quite disappointing for them, as their wages won't be hiked for another year, given everything that's happening in the economy. Let's remember, if you heard the stimulus package, another thing the government said was also working at a floor price nationally as minimum wage for workers. So that's another key development that we look forward to hearing on, and we'll be updating you on this story throughout the week. But let's also switch gears a little bit on the fact that, numerous IT heads and tech heads, and one person being Ravi Shankar Prasad, has come forward and said that AI needs to start picking up its duty in combating the COVID virus. Nothing more for me to really add there. But quickly, before we leave today, let's just get you the top 5 from the Times of India. And that is that India has recorded over 6,000 new cases and 150 deaths. The death toll in Mumbai has crossed 1,000. Air India can fill middle seats until June 6th. So why June 6th? That's something we really look forward to hearing on, and why not immediately. Spain to welcome international tourists from July. So one of the first countries or first instances we're hearing of someone talking about tourism revival or even letting tourists into the country. But for an economy like Spain, it's heavily dependent on that, so we understand why that would be done. And finally, like Pankaj brought to light earlier, Tata seek a 1.5 billion sterling pound aid from the UK government for their UK interests. That'll be something we also keep a close eye out on this morning. But looks like we're completely out of time here on this edition of the Newspaper Show. Before we let you go, do listen in, as always, to news for the hearing impaired from the Impaired segment, and we'll be back with you tomorrow.